So it's going to go on for probably months and years, right?
Yeah.
So not going to officially be settled for a long time, but people are going to, now potentially think differently when it comes to how they pay out commissions. Now, one thing we haven't said is the homeowners in Missouri, they were not sure that the commission they were giving up to the listing agent was also going to the buyer's agent, supposedly. The thing that's made absolutely no sense to me is, and I looked at our listing agreement as a realtor that I go to the home seller, and I'm like, okay, here's 6-8 pages of this agreement. Oh, right here it says, here's the commission that I'm going to charge you. What are you drinking today, Brad?
What am I drinking today? Tequila and Red Bull.
Is that what you had last time?
Probably. I drink tequila a lot.
Is it the same tequila you had last time?
Nope. I actually busted out the Cazadores Reposado.
Okay. I like how your accent comes in there.
That's how you say Cazadores. You can't just say Cazadores.
But people do.
They do?
I'm sure they do.
Oh, no.
Is there a Z or an S in it? Is there a Z?
They
probably say Cazadores.
Cazadores.
Cazadores. I like the Cazadores, please.
It's Cazadores.
I know my...
Can you roll your R's?
Yes. Brad.
Very good.
Thank you.
But what are you drinking?
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome.
This is a Kona Big Wave.
Yep.
So this is our third recording, and I've had a different beer every time.
You are bringing it.
I am. I mean, you have had a different tequila
every
but
time.
Still it's the same drink.
I think we can do 50 shows based on my shelves.
Okay. I might be able to do like 13 based on the beers that I like.
There's 2 in the fridge you can have.
Well, one I will not. And then there's the IPAs that I will not.
Those are the 2 I was talking about.
Well, no. That's a deal breaker.
Yeah. When I was a kid, there was no alcohol that went into the sink or the toilet on purpose.
Really?
Yeah. I was a kid, I would drink it. You know what I mean? Like, think about it. When you were just turning 21 and somebody had a beer, you didn't care what kind of beer that was, or if it was Boone's Farms, you still drank it.
Absolutely.
But today...
A little adult Kool-Aid?
Yeah.
Boone's Farms.
But if somebody said today, hey, dude, you want to come over and drink some Boone's Farms? I'd be like, no.
I might.
Really?
Yeah. I don't mind fruity wines.
You want to come over and drink some Old Milwaukee?
I don't know that I've ever actually had an Old Milwaukee.
Old Milwaukee was great beer back in the day.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But we were kids.
You were
21.
Kids. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Only drink when you're 21.
21, yeah. If you're drinking before you're 21,
you're European.
You're European. Yep.
If you're drinking, you might be a peon.
Yeah, probably. Hope that makes it in.
Yeah. So, Brad, big news in the world of real estate.
You guys are hammered.
Oh my gosh. Huge lawsuit that just got, I'm not even going to say settled, just got finalized. Adjudicated. There you go. Ultimately, what happened was, this was only in the state of Missouri, which when I talk about the dollar amount here, the fact that it's only from one state is astounding, right?
It is a big number.
So a lawyer was able to convince like 500 plus homeowners in the state of Missouri to sue real estate companies and the National Association of Realtors, also known as NAR. The homeowners felt like they were treated unfairly, and the bigger part of the lawsuit was supposedly a belief that there was a conspiracy with NAR and these real estate companies to set commission amounts that a seller was paying when they sold their house.
Sure.
Now, real estate companies here, we're talking Keller Williams was in on it, Berkshire Hathaway. There was RE/MAX, and there was, it's called Anywhere, which includes Century 21. But RE/MAX and Anywhere, they settled out of court before it even got to court, but they paid a huge amount of money. RE/MAX settled for $55 million. Anywhere settled for $83 million. Went forward with NAR, Keller Williams, Berkshire Hathaway, and they...
Was the EXP holding in there too? Or
no, that's the next one.
Okay, that's the next one.
So after a 2-week trial, the jury deliberated for 90 minutes. Like, they knew. They did not need a lot of time.
Wow.
And the awards given to the plaintiffs in the case turned out to be $1.78 billion, which, and I don't know what the original amount was supposed to be, but that's actually more than what they were asking for.
Right, because they got a 5% bump for something that I read. It was,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I forget the legal term.
Either way, huge amount of money. So, with a case like that and dollar amount like that, of course they're going to appeal it.
Yes.
And then what happened right afterwards was another lawsuit was filed, and there was already another lawsuit that's pending trial yet. And I'm not sure what that one's about, but I do know it's for a larger amount of money already. But now a new one has been filed that is a national lawsuit. It's not just the state of Missouri, and that's where I get a little nervous, because if Missouri just got that deal signed, other states are going to start hopping on board, right? Yeah. But the new suit is NAR again, Compass Realty, EXP Holdings, Redfin, and there's a couple other ones that I had not heard of. But number one, if this actually comes to the point where they have to pay large amounts of money, like Keller Williams, Berkshire Hathaway probably go bankrupt.
Yeah.
Because they make hundreds of millions, but they don't make over, billions of dollars, right?
Berkshire Hathaway is going to be okay.
Okay.
Because it's Berkshire Hathaway.
True.
I mean, that's, I know that happened yesterday, and my Berkshire Hathaway stock didn't change.
Okay.
So they're probably okay.
Interesting. Well, I know that, companies like Redfin,
they've already a smaller company. They don't have Warren Buffett running there.
Correct.
They're not at the helm there, but
stock for some of these companies has already been affected by this.
It's a crazy thing, and to say that it's a conspired thing, that's what's frustrating, because real estate commissions have been pretty much the same commissions nationwide for at least as long as I've been in the business, and quite honestly, they've come down since I've been in the business. In '97, it was very common for the real estate commission to be 7%.
Yep, I remember paying that back
7%
in the 90s.
was split with buyer's agent, seller's agent, or 7% if you sold it yourself. And then, it's probably about the time RE/MAX came into the market, and they kind of went in with a competitive number, and we've seen commissions drop to 6%. I see a lot of commissions at 5% today, a lot of 2.5%.
Billboards at 4%.
Yeah, and you and I were talking about this earlier, and a realtor friend and I were talking about this too. If you go back to the 2000s, probably 3, 4, 5, there was a lot of companies that were really assisting for sale by owners and, paying $1,000 to put it in the multiple listing service. And, then the customer thought they could do this themselves. And, that's one thing that, as a person that's been in the mortgage business for over 20 years, and I've been around real estate, for a better part of my grown-ass manship.
Okay.
And I work with realtors every day. And I have people ask me, well, if you were going to sell your home, what would you do? And I'd probably call one of my favorite realtors, one of the best realtors I know on the listing side, and I'd have them list my house. And then I was like, why? It's like, well, I don't know the ins and outs of everything that a realtor does. I watch realtors, but my profession's not in that side. So I look at it as any professional service. If I need to do my taxes, am I going to do my taxes myself? No, because I can't study that book that's that big. So I go to an accountant. Even though I know what taxes are, and I've read a tax return, I'm not going to put myself in a position of making a mistake. And if I'm going to paint a room, I'm going to hire a painter.
I paint houses.
As a professional?
I've been paid for it.
See, there you go. So I'd hire someone that knows how to paint. If my plumbing gets clogged up, I realize that, everything goes downhill. The hot's hot, cold's cold, but I'm going to hire a plumber to fix my plumbing. I'm going to hire a mechanic to fix my car. If I get arrested, I'm going to hire an attorney. I'm not going to go in there and represent myself. Yet people want to sell their house on their own. They think they know how to do it. My humble but extremely accurate opinion is you hire a realtor.
There you go. What I am most curious to see what happens now that this lawsuit has become national news is where real estate may wind up changing in the coming years. Now, this lawsuit, of course, they're going to appeal it, like I said, and our court system is just not fast. No. So it's going to go on for probably months and years, right?
Yeah.
So not going to officially be settled for a long time, but people are going to, now potentially think differently when it comes to how they pay out commissions. Now, one thing we haven't said is the homeowners in Missouri, they were not sure that the commission they were giving up to the listing agent was also going to the buyer's agent, supposedly. The thing that's made absolutely no sense to me is, and I looked at our listing agreement as a realtor that I go to the home seller, and I'm like, okay, here's 6-8 pages of this agreement. Oh, right here it says here's the commission that I'm going to charge you. So let's say 6% just for easy numbers, right? The next line says this is the percent that's going to go to the buyer's agent, and then the next line is 3%. So I get 3%, other side gets 3%, and the seller signs that legal document that says they're willing to give that up.
Sure.
And so I thought, is Missouri somehow different? Turns out I know a realtor in Missouri. So I called him today and I said, dude, we have this in Indiana. I said, do you not have that in Missouri? He goes, oh no, it's on ours too. He said, that's why I don't understand why this lawsuit ever even came to me, because it's right there in black and white. So very confusing.
Well, okay, you got to think of this. In 2008, people with adjustable rate mortgages that signed their mortgage, their adjustable rate mortgage, that's what it's called, an ARM, an adjustable rate mortgage. And then they also signed their adjustable rate mortgage rider. That's another form that's part of your mortgage. And there's a form that explained what your adjustable rate mortgage could adjust to. And they lost their house because they didn't know. They didn't know.
Oh, sad. I mean, legally binding contracts, right?
Yeah. So it's probably a similar thing. They signed it, they didn't read it. Always read the documents, right? And just read the documents. And, and if you don't know what the document means, you just ask the question.
If you don't know, you better ask somebody.
Right.
If
your realtor says, "Whoa," then you might need to call Brian.
That's correct. What this will mean, there's a lot of potential ramifications. How buyers agents get paid, what commissions might be. Who knows what all that's going to come to be? But
a huge ramification.
Oh,
and the government always does things that helps people, right? Like I can think of so many times that the government has done something and it's just helped me. Made everything better.
Oh.
So what they're going to do is they're probably going to make it to where the seller pays the commissions to the realtor on the sale of the house, and the buyer pays the commissions of the buyer's agent that they work with, which can be great for all the rich people that have money. But all the first-time home buyers right now, they're digging in their couch for their down payment. They're easily going to come up with another $3,000, $8,000, $12,000 to pay the real estate commissions to buy the house.
So one potential, I'm going to say logical thought process here is, why can't they just roll that money into a loan, Brad?
We can't roll something into a loan.
No,
because it's purchase price minus down payment equals loan amount.
Huh.
Right? So if it's a VA loan, it's purchase price equals loan amount. There's not a way to take any other fees and roll them on top. That's why we have the sellers pay the closing costs. Because the way you roll your closing costs into a loan is, I pay a little more for the house for the seller to pay the closing costs, right? So it doesn't really look like you're paying more for the house because it's part of what you negotiated. But I always say, if you're getting the seller to pay $3,000 in closing costs, you probably could have bought the house for $3,000 less, because the seller's not keeping that $3,000; they're paying your closing costs. Mm-hmm. It's a necessity in our industry to have sellers pay closing costs and be able to put that into the loan. There's only one loan type where you can finance some of your closing costs.
Oh?
USDA. So rural housing, that's 100% financing loan.
Say rural housing?
Rural.
R-U-A-L?
Rural housing. Huh. How do you say it?
Rural?
Rural.
Because there's an R, then a U, then another R.
So if you're doing a rural, is that how you say it? Did I say it right this time?
Nailed it.
Okay, so if you're doing the USDA loan, then the house actually appraises for more than your purchase price. That's the key. House has to appraise for more than the purchase price. Then you can roll some of those closing costs in. Huh. That's the only one, though.
Fascinating.
So yeah, it could mean the borrowers are now coming up with more money to buy a house. It also could affect potentially the concessions that a seller can pay, because sellers can only pay a certain amount of closing costs based on the loan type. It could affect that too. So there's probably more negative downside to borrowers and buyers than there is positive to anybody.
The Fed had their meeting
Just a few
week.
minutes ago.
Expectation was that they were not going to raise interest rates. So, A, what's the deal with that? And then I'll come to B.
Okay, so A, the federal fund rate has nothing to do with 30-year fixed mortgage rates.
Okay.
They're not hooked together. Federal fund rate is the money that banks borrow money over a 24-hour period of time. Plain and simple. It does affect the mortgages like a home equity line of credit. Any type of loan that's hooked to prime, it affects all of those.
Credit cards. Auto loans.
Auto loans aren't really prime,
No.
but it is part of the money that banks borrow.
Okay.
So it drives car rates up. 30-year fixed mortgage rates are tied to the bond market. It's all about what the 10-year treasury does. All mortgages become bonds at some point. So the bond market doesn't like inflation. So when the Fed does raise interest rates or not raise interest rates, the only way it really affects mortgages is by how that is perceived to affect inflation. And inflation, we all talked about May 10th last year. May 10th, it all gets better, and it didn't. Even though inflation year over year fell a bunch, right? But last month over month, inflation still increased again. So that Fed's target of 2%, where I think we're still like 4%, and a lot of things they use a weird matrix to do it. They throw out fuel prices. They throw out food.
The more I learned about that, like thinking about things that they throw out to come up, like,
makes
you know what? Let's put these things together and just make it sound one way, even though it's not the entire picture.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So we're not at that 2% mark, but they think that they've raised the Fed fund rate enough to slow the economy. And just like Fed Chair Powell said today, as we watch the employment markets, right? Unemployment helps mortgage rates.
Time out. That's going to be part B. So, okay, continue.
So as we see prices slow down at their increases, then we get to this point where the economy slows and inflation slows and interest rates come down. And you look at 2008 where the crash happened, and you take that 2008 all the way out to 2014, we really had kind of a crap economy. It never really took off. In fact, the Fed fund rate set at 0 forever.
Man.
Right? So, but even though the Fed fund rate got up to 4%, interest rates were still low, 30-year fixed rates, because they're not tied together. But if you look at 2010 all the way out to 2013, we had a really super slow economy. You take 15 through 18, it sped up a little bit, but it was still slow. And then you look at 18, 19, and 20, and the economy started to really grow. Interest rates, started to kind of come up a little bit there. And then we seen, I wanted to say E. coli, but it was COVID.
A disease.
I don't know why. I guess I looked at my daughter's PhD thesis on the wall over there, which is about E. coli, and my mind went the wrong way. But then you've seen interest rates drop to the lowest point because you've seen the market drop to the lowest point ever in history, the lowest the economy has ever been. It was at stop.
Oh, yeah. I know one thing the government is looking at is, how is spending going?
Well, people spending money.
Aren't they? I mean, seriously,
gosh.
Interest rates complained about all the time.
Don't seem to care.
Inflation, huge complaint almost all of 2023, yet spending remains high, and that's why the Fed kind of keeps putting the interest rates up because they're trying to slow stuff down, right?
Yeah, I know they said they were going to pause, but there was a lot of us that thought they may, still do an increase because they did say they felt there could be 2 more increases this year. Mm-hmm. So since they've paused, again, only the second time they've paused this year, they may raise again in December.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Yeah.
If you like what you've seen, we would appreciate you sharing this with somebody who might find the interesting information. Feel free to click that subscribe button because, you want to be notified when the next video is going to come out.
Give it a thumbs up, too.
Give it a thumbs up. Definitely like, share, subscribe. All of that stuff would be wonderful. Down in the comments, a Calendly link. You can schedule a strategy session with me. And if you need a lender to talk to, you can reach out either put a comment down below.
Yep.
If you want to put a Calendly link, Brad doesn't have one.
Yeah.
But you could put in the
But once you talk to Brian, then I can do a follow-up call and answer your questions.
I push people to a lender anyways once we start talking about financing for a house. So I will.
He shoves them my way.
I do
push them to the other guy, but he shoves them to me.
That's correct. Anyways, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Real estate makes us drink, Brad. Cheers.
Cheers.
Take care, buddy.